we need to talk about Kujou Sara. Not only is she the cutest girl I've ever seen, she's got some major endgame potential. I took her through the Spiral Abyss with some of my main teams, and I hit damage numbers that were higher than anything I've ever seen on my account. The attack damage bonus that she can provide is a game changer, and you can fit her into multiple different teams. But I have a couple warnings as well. I'm going to review this character, I'm going to talk about her good weapons, some good artifacts, and my overall thoughts on if Kujou Sara is worth your time investing in. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Dislight, a brand new pop fantasy RPG with some striking visuals and outstanding character design. Collect and train your espers, form teams, and strategize your way to victory in this epic turn-based RPG fantasy. I honestly love the art style. It's very vivid, it's futuristic, we got some anime and pop culture references, and no meme, the soundtrack is fire. In the world of Dislight, special humans known as espers come together to save humanity from an earth-shattering threat. The divine power of these espers comes from gods based on various mythologies such as Norse, Chinese, or Egyptian. Now, imagine ancient gods in a futuristic urban setting. That is Dislight. Check it out for yourself by pre-registering right now. It is totally free since the game is brand new, and getting in right away will give you a head start on the competition. So click the link down in the comment section or description of this video and pre-register today. It helps out the channel tremendously if you pre-register, and thank you so much for Dislight sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into the content, baby! So as many of you know, I risked it all to go and get Kujou Sara. I wanted one copy minimum, but I ended up spamming out a few, and I ended up getting a C2 Kujou Sara. Now I'm gonna open up this little review saying, I honestly feel like with C2, she really becomes the character she's meant to be. And before this, she can be a little bit clunky. It's very unfortunate that C2 brings so much potential, but I think is, still at C1 or C0, a decent character, but she's not as accessible. As soon as you get C2, this little extra crow feather, it allows you to easily apply the attack bonus to whatever character you choose. There's always enough time to get in there. It's got a big area of effect, and it might not hit super hard. It doesn't matter. If all you're doing is using Kujou Sara as an attack booster, someone that you're taking the base attack, which right now is only 646 because she's only level 69, nice. It's still really solid at this level, and so I'm already happy. I'm already happy what she can do, with these passes and at C2. And if I take her weapon to level 90, if I take her up to maybe level 80, even potentially 90 down the road, I'm going to hit some of the biggest damage numbers I've ever seen. So let's talk about why Kujou Sara is pretty lit. Our Venti has 1600 attack, but with a simple press of the E button, Kujou Sara can turn him into an almost 2000 attack monster. Now, Kujou Sara, again, is level 69. Taking her to level 80 would give me like another 30 base attack, maybe even 45, depending if you wanted to go to like 89 out of 90. But also my weapon, I can get another like 40-50 damage right here. Now, that would mean I could easily push Venti over 2000, but here's the kicker. I could take this up much further, and if I was able to get more constellations and get an extra free levels, it turns out to be a ton of attack damage similar to something that Bennett can do. Now, this doesn't have the healing, and the buff is for a pretty short duration at only 6 seconds, but if you're just trying to one-bang something, oh baby, this can work. So we're doing 17,000 and then about 29,000 with Arganyu. But watch this. After buffing with Kujou Sara, we're gonna get a nice big damage boost. 19,000, and the other one it's actually like 33, I believe. Yeah, 33. 19,000, almost 20,000, and 33,000. So that is a pretty big boost of damage. It's like a 10% overall damage boost to Ganyu, which, if you're using your ultimate, you're using maybe a D-Luke ultimate, that is pretty nice. So let's take a peek and see what that looks like. So I threw Kujou Sara in multiple different teams. I used her with my Ganyu. I used her with this team. I really liked her in this team because she just adds an extra boost of damage, allowing you to burst down some enemies. But also, you know, with this team, it's a very unga-bunga, spamming buttons, just attacking with D-Luke, and it works. You know, you press E, you get that damage buff, and it's pretty cool. But with Kujou Sara, and you know, when you start throwing her ultimate into the mix, I can buff up my Xingqiu, and now he's gonna hit harder, right? I've got a nice rotation there. I can do some ultimates here. I can get a buff on D-Luke now, so he's buffed, and he's gonna start melting, right? 50,000 damage on a basic attack here. If we start throwing, you know, Bennett into the mix, all of a sudden, this is gonna get really crazy. We can buff up our Xingqiu here. He can do a bunch of extra damage with that burst. Look at that damage. Absolutely beautiful. All right. We can use Bennett now. Let's go back to Bennett. We can buff up D-Luke, and now, with all the vaporizing and the double damage buffs, I mean, some pretty nice numbers, right? 90,000 damage there almost. Pretty damn cool. Now, Kujou Sara's not going to do great here because he's Electro, but 25,000 damage on that! Huge AoE, 25,000 damage. My Kujou Sara is unleveled, and her weapon isn't even leveled up. Her talent's not leveled up. It's a level 4 talent. That's pretty damn good. Make sure that we're vaping. And he's doing like 50,000 damage on that vaporize. But what if Kujou Sara buffs him up? Alright, so let's burst up D-Luke here. And we'll buff him up. Make sure we get the vape. And he's still buffed, and 63, almost 64,000 damage. So again, that one, I mean, we went from like 55 to 65, almost. That's a nice chunk of damage that we're getting for just pressing a button on Kujou Sara. So, I mean, that is a nice chunk of damage to get, but you have to remember, it's going to buff all of his abilities, and you've got 6 seconds to do it. So the second you press that button, I can do a full rotation of this, lay in with an ultimate, and burst down those enemies during that 6-second window. I mean, I just lost the buff there, and so I feel that it is enough time to boost up your team and let your damage dealer do their thing. On someone that might have a longer burst window, or, you know, someone like Ganyu who's doing these big charge shots, it might not feel as rewarding because there's downtime in between those attacks. If you've got a really bursty damage dealer where you can spam out your abilities, I think that you're going to like Kujou Sara quite a bit. However, that being said, it is a lot more clunky if you don't have C2, because you're going to have to dodge out, you're going to have to charge up a shot, which is quick, then swap, and it does feel like you're waiting around a little bit too much to get that damage. If you have Kujou Sara at C2, all you do is press a button, you swap, and you start unga-bungaing like that, and you're into the damage. So that is definitely something to consider. Now, here is another thing. If you are using Kujou Sara for just pressing E and swapping, there's something you need to know. Popping this near this enemy, right? No energy particles generated. Now, if I shoot there, and then it hits, that's when you get them.
Gaining the upper hand.
So the baby one doesn't do anything. Does not give you any energy, but you can still just shoot the ground nearby, and you get energy particles from that as long as they hit. So, you know, that's okay. And, you know, honestly, you might be able to even do some fun stuff with it where you buff someone, right? Or die. I mean, wait, what? Now, just to clarify, you don't actually have to shoot the arrow in this vicinity to get the buff. If you want to shoot it over there, you can, but you're not going to be able to take advantage of the buff that provides. So I don't know why you would do that. You might be able to do some fun stuff here where you go in, you know, you buff someone, do a bunch of damage, right? Maybe pop your ultimate, but then you can charge up, and then you can buff someone else. So this little hidden mechanic that you might not have known about can actually be pretty cool for enabling 2 different characters on your team. Yep, it requires some swapping, but that damage, especially at higher levels, might make up for it. So, I mean, I think that if you have some well-built sub-DPS characters, or you want your Venti or something like that to hit like a truck, there's some potential there. On top of that, if you are doing that, it does allow you to actually get the particles, because if you don't, you're going to have major issues with energy generation. If you're not doing this one at some point, your team is just going to have, you know, trouble long term. It also gives you multiple opportunities to proc your sacrificial bow, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Now, if you're using it twice, that means you're going to be getting some energy recharge here for your party, which is pretty cool overall. But you also, if you are getting some constellation on this character, with C1, every 3 seconds, you can actually reduce the cooldown of the Tengu Storm Call, so you can have pretty much 100% uptime on this, even if you're not using something like the Sacrificial Bow. The more I look at it, the more I realize that the passive here, you almost don't need it because of how quickly she gets this ability back, but the high base attack and the energy recharge is definitely nice on this bow, but I'm honestly considering swapping over to the Favonius War Bow for that extra energy recharge to spam my ultimate or burst ability. The base attack isn't amazing on this, but the energy recharge might be worth it, depending if you want to pop that burst more often than not. I think there are quite a few different options. She does hit decently well with her ultimate ability, and, boosting his damage by 30% is cool, but Elemental Mastery on Electro character is just not great. So for me, if I had to recommend anything, it would be like a big base attack 5-star weapon, maybe some crit on there if you've got like the, Skyward Heart. But for me, 4-star bow, I think I'm going to go with the Sacrificial. That's what I would recommend. It's not God tier, but I think it'll definitely do the job, and you get some value out of it in multiple different situations. Now, for artifacts, you can do a Noblesse set. Just make sure you're using an Electro damage bonus if you're trying to get that bonus. You could do energy recharge if you wanted to just buff, but I think that she does hit pretty hard with that ultimate ability or burst ability. Mine at level 4 was doing 16,000 damage in the Spiral Abyss, so that's pretty damn good. And, Noblesse is going to boost up your team, and I think that that's pretty sweet. However, this set could be also pretty damn good, getting this energy recharge and increase elemental burst damage. This is just a universally great set. I just don't have an amazing one ready to go just yet. You could also build it for like electro damage, I suppose, but I don't think it's worth farming those artifacts when you've got stuff like this that is universal and you can throw it on like 20 different characters, right? Now, after playing her more, I would have to say that she does feel like a strong buffing champion, and I did get 36 stars in the Spiral Abyss. However, I also have some very good supports like Xingqiu at C5. I have my Diluc, Triple Crown, C1. I've got a 5-star weapon. So, am I getting carried by Kujou Sara, or am I getting carried by the other characters? Obviously, I think the other characters are bringing so much to the table, I could probably throw a level 1 Barbara in and still do good. But I think that this attack buff is undoubtedly valuable, and the amount that you can keep this up, really, really exciting for me. I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, would I recommend this character, or would I recommend wailing out for this character? Some of you already went and got Raiden Shogun, so maybe you already have her. And I think she's worth building to mess around with and have some fun. She is a very fun character, and the damage buff is great. But if you don't have C2, I see her being a little bit more clunky and not as mobile player friendly. If you have to go into aiming mode and you're trying to strafe around and you're getting knocked out of hits, it can be clunky. But if you're just pressing a button quickly and swapping off, that's a little bit different. On PC, on console, I'm not sure if it's as bad of an issue, but I feel like C2 is where she really starts to shine. If you can get C6, she can be an amazing support for Electro DPS characters, and if we ever get like a really good Electro main DPS, I'm talking like Hu Tao level Electro DPS, she might be one of the best characters in the game. Supporting and giving this extra crit damage is unheard of, and all the other bonuses she's giving, I think that Kujou Sara is pretty damn sweet. I love her visually. She's the best looking character in the game, or one of them for me. Absolutely love this character, and I think she's got that fun factor for me, and I hope that you enjoy. I hope that this guide helps even a little bit to getting you on your way to building Kujou Sara, and if you don't have C2 just yet, that's okay. You don't have to build every character right away, but as soon as you do get that C2, you can really consider putting some time in, spending the resources and getting these skills up, because the more you invest in her, she's going to actually hit really hard with this burst damage, and this attack damage bonus that she's giving is nothing to sneeze at. But that's pretty much it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out Dislight, the sponsorship in the comment section below, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.